to Honest Conversation with Holy Spirit. If the Most High is not in it, it can't be an honest conversation. John 17:17. Sanctify them by your truth. Your word is truth. Woman of God, your ex just realized you've moved on from them. God says, know your worth. Woman of God, listen to me. Because there comes a moment, a holy, heaven-sent moment, when a woman finally remembers who she is, and the man who mishandled her suddenly wakes up. Not because you posted a picture, not because you called him back, not because you argued, begged, or proved anything, but because your spirit moved on before your feet ever did. When a woman of God knows her worth, the wrong man feels the loss, even if he doesn't understand it. Today, I'm going to reveal why your ex just realized you've moved on, and what God is saying to you in this season. Let's begin. Woman of God, lean all the way in, because from the very first breath of this message, heaven is pulling back the curtain on a powerful revelation about your worth. Something extraordinary happens the moment a woman of God stops accepting half-love, broken love, conditional affection, breadcrumb emotions, and inconsistent loyalty. The atmosphere around her shifts. Her posture straightens. Her mind clears, and her spirit rises. A queen doesn't bargain for attention. Fine gold doesn't sit on clearance racks. And a woman of God does not beg for loyalty. She discerns it. Psalm 139:14 declares, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, which means you are crafted with intentionality, designed with divine precision, and molded with heaven's fingerprints. You are not an afterthought or an emotional fallback. You are a masterpiece. And here's what many women don't realize. An ex can sense spiritually, without a text, without a call, without a confrontation, when a woman of God has truly moved on. Men may not always understand emotions, but they understand the sudden silence of a healed heart. They can feel when your spirit has detached, when your peace has returned, when your soul has been reclaimed, when your boundaries have been rebuilt. Because moving on is not loud. Moving on is spiritual. It's the silent strength that returns to a woman who finally remembers who she is. When a woman of God moves on, the entire spiritual atmosphere around her changes. And while she grows in God, he suddenly realizes what he lost. Before you ever evaluate a man's character, intentions, patterns, or promise, you must first understand your own identity. Many women lose themselves inside relationships, trying to prove they're enough, trying to hold things together, trying to earn love that was never meant to be earned. They bend, shrink, sacrifice, and suffocate under the weight of a man's emotional instability, forgetting that their identity does not begin with romance. It begins with God. Jeremiah 15 tells you, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. That means your identity existed before any heartbreak. Your purpose existed before any pain. Your value existed before any relationship. 1 Peter 2:9 goes even deeper, reminding you that you are chosen, royal, set apart, and spiritually distinguished. A woman of God regains her identity the moment she realizes her calling is higher than his confusion. Her purpose is bigger than his emotional immaturity, and her future does not require his validation. This revelation is life-changing Because when she stops chasing a man's approval and starts honoring God's affirmation, everything shifts. Her voice, her boundaries, her confidence, her peace, her standards, her discernment. Suddenly, the man who once had access to her heart discovers he no longer has influence over her life. A woman who knows who she is becomes untouchable from manipulation, unstoppable in purpose, and unshakable in identity. This is the moment she stops asking, "Does he love me?" and starts declaring, "I am loved by God." Let me teach this with clarity and depth. Relationships are not just emotional, they are spiritual. Emotional ties become spiritual ties. Attention becomes spiritual energy, and intimacy becomes a binding connection that reaches beyond the physical. As long as a woman bends toward a man, he benefits from her shade, her covering, her loyalty, her nurture, her wisdom, her prayers, her presence. But the moment she stops bending toward his darkness and starts turning toward God's light, she begins to grow without him. Once a flower stops bending toward a man's shade, she starts growing toward God's sunlight. And here's the part that shocks many women. The moment she breaks the soul tie, the man feels it. He may not be spiritual, but he can sense the detachment. He may not understand emotions, but he notices the absence. He may not express vulnerability, but he feels the sudden void where her devotion once lived. Judges 16 reveals that Samson didn't recognize Delilah's influence until the strength she once accessed was gone. In the same way, some men only recognize a woman of God's worth when her absence becomes louder than her presence. That's why the calls start, the texts reappear, the apologies roll in. Not because he transformed, but because you did. Your healing unsettles him. Your peace exposes him. Your boundaries confront him. Your distance convicts him. When a woman of God moved on, heaven announces it. And the man who mishandles her feels it long before he ever admits it. Because the moment God restores a woman, the man who wounded her becomes aware of what he can no longer touch. Man of God, hear me with your spirit. The greatest breakthrough in your healing journey did not begin the moment you blocked his number or deleted the pictures or changed your routines. It began the moment you remembered your worth. Before there was a physical reparation, there was an internal resurrection, a rising, a returning, a reclaiming of what you forgot you carried. You began to see how many excuses you accepted instead of real effort. You began to realize how often you mistook attention for affection. Because attention feels good for a moment, but affection sustains for a lifetime. You began to see how many times you trusted potential instead of patterns. How you believed who he could be while ignoring who he consistently was. Proverbs 31:10 says, "Her worth is far above rubies," which means your value is not measured by how he treated you. Your value is measured by how God created you. When you moved on mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, your ex suddenly came face to face with a truth he never expected. The version of you he could manipulate, guilt trip, breadcrumb, gaslight, emotionally drain, no longer existed. God didn't let him come back because God removed the version of you that tolerated dysfunction. You evolved into the woman of God you were always meant to become.
And heaven closed the door before your heart reopened it. The moment your mind healed, your spirit rose. The moment your spirit rose, your standards elevated. And the moment your standards elevated, he realized he no longer had access to a woman he took for granted. Your worth is what pushed him out, and your healing is what kept him out. Woman of God, let me teach you something deeply spiritual and psychologically profound. Your ex didn't regret losing you. He regretted losing the peace you carried. A woman of God is not just a partner. She is a stabilizer. She is a calming presence. She is a covering. She is grace wrapped in gentleness. She is favor wrapped in femininity. She is wisdom wrapped in patience. And many men do not recognize what they have until the atmosphere shifts after she leaves. A woman of God carries peace that a man does not appreciate until chaos returns to his life. She carries grace he doesn't cherish until she removes it. She carries favor he doesn't recognize until he loses it. Proverbs 18:22 says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." Favor, not flirtation. Access, not attention. Blessing, not bare minimum. When a woman of God leaves, favor leaves. When she steps away, the oil she carried with her steps away. When she disconnects, the stability she brought disconnects. And here's what happens next. He starts noticing the emptiness, not because he suddenly matured, but because the absence of your light exposed the darkness he was comfortable ignoring. When a lamp stops lighting his path, he realizes how dark his road really was. Your presence masked his dysfunction. Your love covered his immaturity. Your prayers shielded him from storms he should have faced on his own. Your forgiveness kept him from experiencing consequences he needed to learn from. Now that you moved on, he realizes he didn't lose a woman. He lost peace, favor, grace, covering, and stability. And the painful truth? He realized it too late. Woman of God, do not misinterpret what happened. He didn't reject you because you weren't worthy. He rejected you because he was spiritually blind. Immaturity blinds a man. Lust blinds a man. Ego blinds a man. Familiarity blinds a man. A spiritually blind man can hold gold but treat it like dust. He can be embraced by favor but treat it like common access. Isaiah 6:9-10 teaches that spiritual blindness causes people to see but not perceive. Meaning he saw your presence, but not your purpose. He saw your loyalty, but not your value. He saw your love, but not your sacrifice. He saw your love, but not your worth. You were his answered prayer, but he treated you like an option. Then you understand you're not alone in this. Your power is Immanuel, and he's ready to help you heal. Psalm 30, verse 2. The Most High, my God, I called to you for help, and you healed me.